Welcome back to ONYX Financial Track. We're still talking about the accounts payable in the vendors module, and we're on the setup. So we already covered the first screen, which was AP parameters, and now we'll talk about vendors types. Alright, so after you click on add, type number is automatic. Then we will type in the type name and foreign name as well. For example, raw material suppliers. That's going to be a type that later on we can link the vendors to. Alright, so that's pretty much everything that this screen does. We'll move on to the next one, which is vendor's degree. Click on add. Number is automatic. Then you will type in the name and foreign name. For example, reliable vendors, good vendors, excellent vendors, vendors that cause delay. That is basically just to sort your vendors according, of course, to the facility's point of view. Alright, so next screen is purchase invoice type. When we click on add, also the number is automatic. And then the name and foreign name, for example, raw material purchase. Right, we have a checkbox, addition auto charge to invoice. It's the only checkbox in the screen. Here we can link this kind of invoices to specific charges or expenses that get added automatically once you've issued this kind of invoices. For example, transportation charges. So that's it also for this screen. We will move on to purchase return invoice type. Click on add, number is automatic as well. And then you will fill in the name and the foreign name. Side note, or let's call it an advice if you'd say, if we created purchase invoice types, it's easier to create the exact same types in the purchase return invoice as well, because that is just to establish consistency in the work itself and make it clear without a hassle. Alright, so the last invoice, the last actually screen in the setup is purchase charge. You click on add, number is automatic as usual, and in charge name, let's just type in the name of this charge, and you will add also the account number. Alright, so as we've established before, when you're adding the account number, you will hit F9, and then you will select the account that will be affected by this charge, or let's say that this charge will reflect on. Once you've selected the account, by the way, the name comes up automatically. And in effect type, we have by invoice. That is based on the settings that we chose in the vendor setup. Then we have charge type, percentage or amount. In case we choose percentage, then we need to clarify the exact percentage, but that's going to be in the transaction itself. As for amount, when we select amount, then we will have to select the currency from the drop-down menu. Then we can specify the amount exactly, either from this screen or also from the transaction itself. Alright, so we have a checkbox, auto install. If we activate this checkbox, then this charge will be added automatically on the purchase transactions. Then we also have charge classification, add or discount. To clarify that, that is basically to inform the system what is it supposed to do, like what is it supposed to do with this charge. Is it going to be on top of the transactions total or deducted from the transactions total? Then we also have allow return in purchase return, yes or no, and that basically just means the amount that you've paid in the purchase itself. Are you going to get that money back or not? Now we're actually done with the setup. We'll move on to the inputs. Alright, yeah, we're going to have to enter the exchange rate before we can save. It's a mandatory field apparently. Alright, so moving on to inputs, we will open up vendors group. So here we can basically create groups that we can link the vendors to or divide them into. We can, for example, create a group for local vendors, a group for foreign vendors. As usual, we will click on add. The number comes in automatically. It's an ordinal number basically. You will fill in the name and the foreign name. Alright, then we will need to select the account that this group will be connected to. And we've established that we hit F9 and then we select the account itself. Alright, so next screen, which is gonna be vendors details. We have two sections here. The upper one is where we enter the group code from the drop-down menu. These are obviously the groups that we've added in the previous screen. And once you select the group, the account number and name are automatic because we've linked this group to a specific account, as we've just seen in the previous screen. Vendor code is also automatic. We enter the vendor name and foreign name. Alright, so after we've entered the name and the foreign name, by the way, you will see that in the lower section we have 6 tabs. So the first tab is master details. And here we can link the vendor to a cost center, a vendor type, a branch, and we can also select a degree for this vendor. We also need to select the currency that we will use to deal with this vendor. And if we want to deactivate one of the currencies that we have here, then we will tick the inactive checkbox from this window, because we have another inactive checkbox on the left. But the other one, like the one on the left, is actually to suspend dealing with this vendor throughout the system. Alright, so favorite account, that one is basically in case you want to add this vendor to the favorite accounts in the main interface. We'll move on to the second tab, which is other data. So this is where we enter the vendor's information or how to contact them. So you have the fax number, the mobile number, the PO box number, email address. You get the idea. We can also specify like the location by choosing the country, city, and province as well. In contact person field, this is where you can add the contact person's information. Yeah, you can add like their name. If you want to punch in their mobile number, it's completely up to you. And in the field since, that is where we can specify when did we start having business with this vendor. As for credit period, this is how long is the period you're given to complete the payments for this vendor. Alright, so then we have blacklist, and that means that we will cut off this vendor entirely, and no branch, nothing inside the company can deal with that vendor. And in reason, of course, you can clarify why this vendor is blacklisted. Remarks is where you can add any notes. And last purchase date, last invoice amount, last payment date, and last confirmation date, those are all automatic, and they're going to be based on the latest transaction that involved this vendor. Alright, so in additional data, it's basically just we can clarify how we deal with the taxes when it comes to this vendor. Are they adding VAT to the purchase itself, and so on. In case we activate VAT taxable, then we will get a new field, which is price type. And in price type, we can specify whether the price includes taxes or if it does not. And if we chose that the price includes taxes, then here the system, it will take the full amount of the purchase and use it as the cost of the item. But if we chose price without taxes, then here the system will separate the price from the taxes and put the tax in the account which we will select. Use taxes deducted at source. That is, of course, a type of taxes that you can use if it's applicable in your case. We'll move on to the next tab, which is additional fields. This is where we can enter any additional information. So basically just everything that you want to record about this vendor. As for cash and banks, from this tab we can select the banks that we will use to deal with this vendor. All right. And as for statistics, it shows you basically this data. We'll move on to the next screen. Alright, so purchase representative. After you click on add, number is automatic. And in main purchase representative code, let's explain this one. If we're creating a representative, then it makes sense that this representative has a supervisor. So in main purchase representative code, we will enter the supervisor's code. Then we will enter the name of that representative and foreign name and also address. Alright, so we have 4 tabs. We will start with master details. And in this tab, we can enter the contact info for the representative, phone number, PO box, and so on. And we can also enter their location. So we can specify like the area code from the drop-down menu, region code, and so on. And you can also add any notes in the remarks. Inactive, of course, means that they're currently not in business. And of course, you'll enter the inactive reason, and the date will come up automatically. Like, when was this representative set to be inactive? Next tab is guarantee details. Since this is a purchase representative for the company, then there has to be some kind of guarantee or information that we can add here. So any guarantee that you have for that employee, you will just enter that details in this tab. Then we have privilege, and in privilege we can specify which users can view this representative's information and who has access to edit the information. Transactions is just statistics, which will show you like a summary for this representative's work, like the purchase invoices he used, the amount of the invoices, and related information. That is everything for this lecture. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe, and we will see you again soon.